Okay, thank you guys for coming this morning. I'm Melissa Dimmitt, if I haven't met you, but I think I've met all of you, the Public Information Officer for the town. I'm going to hand it off to Chief Sisson here in just a second. I just wanted to let you know that he's going to be reading a prepared statement, giving a prepared statement, reserving some time at the end for questions. At this point in time, we're not prepared to discuss any aspects about the specific evidence or any statements that were given by the accused, but hopefully he can answer some of your questions. After today, if you have any questions, as always, please direct them to me. You should have my contact information. There are physical copies of the release. I hope everybody got one. If not, I'm also going to send it out digitally after this. So let me know if you need anything after this is over. And this is Chief Mark Sisson.
Thank you, Melissa. So this week's been a very tough week for the law enforcement members that have investigated this case, and also family members affected by. Obviously, this is a tragedy in our community. You know, a lot of things this week resonated with me. You know, as you look at this picture of this young man, you know, children in our community are absolutely, they're cherished. You know, they are individuals without voice. And many times in those situations, and situations like we've encountered this week, it's our job to be their voice, and we will absolutely be their voice, be this young man's voice throughout the continuation of this investigation through the prosecution. So I just felt like I needed to get that off of me. And again, it's been a tough week. I thank you guys for being here. I am Mark Sisson. I'm the police chief in Christiansburg. And I wish we were here on better circumstances, but I do appreciate you being here to share the story. It is with a sense of profound sadness that I stand before you today. As you're already aware, on Friday, January the 11th at approximately 9:15 p.m., the Christiansburg Police Department and Christiansburg Rescue responded to a call reporting an unresponsive child who had fallen at a residence at 430 Zinc Lane in the town of Christiansburg. The child, who we can now identify as Stephen Dale Meek II, age 2, ultimately died from the injuries he sustained. The incident resulted in a very detailed and thorough investigation of the events leading up to the death of Stephen Meek. We are now in a position to provide information about what we have discovered. Friday night, Officer Aaron Lust, the first responder to the call, arrived to find an adult male, Mackenzie Kyle Hellman, age 25, seated on the floor next to the unresponsive child, later identified as Stephen Meek. At the time of the incident, Hellman resided at the residence on Zinc Lane with Stephen and Stephen's mother, Kayla Thomas, also age 25. Hellman is Kayla Thomas's boyfriend and is not related to her son, Stephen. Kayla Thomas was at work at the time of the incident. Shortly after Officer Lust's arrival, members of the Christiansburg Rescue Squad arrived along with Officer Lust. They began to perform CPR for approximately 25 minutes before a pulse was detected. Stephen was transported by ambulance to Lewis Gale Montgomery Regional Hospital and then airlifted to Korea and Roanoke Memorial Hospital. While treating Stephen, medical professionals indicated including a forensics nurse, discovered bruising and injury that did not appear to be consistent with the preliminary statement that the toddler had fallen from a crib or a bed. A criminal investigation was initiated and our detectives worked around the clock, conducting interviews, executing search warrants, and collecting evidence. This investigation revealed evidence indicating that Stephen had been the victim of physical abuse, and as a result, on Sunday, January the 11th, Mackenzie Hellman was arrested and charged with 1 count of felony child abuse. Medical evaluation at Roanoke Memorial revealed minimal brain activity, and Stephen was placed on life support in a pediatric care unit. Tragically, at approximately 7:40 p.m. on Sunday, January the 13th, Stephen Meeks died. Our detectives continued with their investigation in the cause of Stephen's death and ultimately uncovered evidence indicating that Stephen was not only the victim of physical abuse that resulted in his injuries on January the 11th, but also that he had been the victim of sexual abuse at the hands of both Mackenzie Hellman and his mother, Kayla Thomas. Preliminary forensics evidence indicates that Stephen died as a result of extreme blunt force trauma to the head. The number and severity of injuries indicate that the injuries were not the result of one impact from a fall, as we were initially told by Mackenzie Hellman. Instead, the evidence indicates multiple injuries to the head and body area. Additionally, evidence uncovered during the investigation implement both Hellman and Kayla Thomas in the ongoing sexual abuse of this child. As a result of these findings, on Thursday, January the 17th, Mackenzie Hellman was charged, and also Kayla Thomas. And you have been provided those charges. I will not read through those. The one thing I will elaborate on quickly is the felony murder charge. There will be a lot of questions about that. Felony murder described is when the victim accidentally dies during the commission of another felony. The other felony in this case is child abuse. With regards to this charge, the investigation is continuing, and it is likely that this charge will be upgraded as we work this case with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. At this time, both Hellman and Thomas are being held without bond at the Western Virginia Regional Jail. I would like to take a few minutes to recognize some extraordinary efforts of some people who have worked this case during the week. The first responder, Officer Lusk, and the members of the Christiansburg Rescue Squad who tirelessly performed CPR to try to save Stephen. The medical staff at both Lewis Gale Montgomery Regional Hospital and Korean Roanoke Memorial Hospital for their efforts in caring for Stephen. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office who provided assistance with the crime scene processing. And finally, the entire criminal investigative unit here at the Christiansburg Police Department. Their professionalism, diligence, and training allowed them to conduct what was a very difficult investigation and to discover evidence necessary to bring the persons responsible for the abuse and ultimately the brutal death of Stephen Meeks to justice. I would also like to thank the Montgomery County Commonwealth Attorney's Office for their partnership as we move into the prosecution phase of this case. We are very fortunate in this community where violent crime is rare. The same good fortune makes it all the more shocking when events like this happen within our community. What happened to this innocent child can only be described as horrific, and we can only imagine the pain felt by the loved ones of Stephen Meeks, and our hearts and prayers go out to the families involved. While the initial phase of the investigation has concluded, this case is not over. With prosecution still pending, I will not comment on specific evidence found or statements made by individual parties. That said, at this time I'll ask if you have questions. I'll try to answer the ones that I can. My response will be very limited outside of what has been provided.
Have you all been in contact with the boy's biological father?
The boys, we have, yes.
Does he live in the area?
He does live in the area.
Were there any other victims that you know about involved in this case, in this situation, related to the charges that have been brought forth?
Yes.
Can you tell us how many?
Just one other.
A minor?
A minor that we cannot provide that information due to the child being a minor and also our continued investigation to follow.
Do you know anything about the length of time that the sexual abuse was taking place during?
At this time, we do not.
You said ongoing, so you are saying it is more than just the incidents that occurred this night, Friday of last week?
That's correct.
Does your department have any history with either member of the couple?
Not to my knowledge, we do not.
The death of the child is being ruled then accidental at this time, as noted in that felony murder charge.
It was not accidental.
So that's, I guess, I know, and I appreciate you trying to explain that charge to us. Help us understand why the word accidental is used there in this little explanation of why the felony murder charge is in place here. And I know you said it may be upgraded, but if you can explain for us what you guys know at this time, or how you can explain the death at this time.
That's just how the code's worded
Okay.
in the Code of Virginia.
So when we say he is facing a murder charge,
He's facing a murder charge.
Okay.
The code just has that in the description of it. When someone's killed in the commission of another felony, then that's just the code section that's used initially to do that. The evidence is very clear that this was not an accidental.
Does Kayla Thomas have any other children?
No.
Do you know if she is pregnant at this time?
Yeah. Yes, she is. Well, we have been told that she is pregnant.
Has CPS ever been involved in either of the two of the couple? Have they?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you know if there have been any reports filed with Child Protective Services at all?
Not to my knowledge, but I definitely would defer to CPS on that
Okay.
question.
So you said Thomas doesn't have another child, but Helen does?
That's correct.
Okay.
Do you believe that anyone else knew this was going on?
Our investigation at this point does not provide that information.
Do you know if any other people will be charged or just the couple at this point?
At this point, we have no information that others will be charged, but again, I will state that our investigation is ongoing, and our detective unit is the best of the best, and if there's other information there, it will be discovered by them and moved on.
Do you know if anyone else was in the home the night of Friday? Sorry if you already said that.
We don't believe so. I don't have information that there was others in the home.
There was another child present, but not another adult.
Do you have any idea the blunt force trauma to the head? You said it was not consistent with the fall. Do you have any other reason to believe how that happened?
Those will be specifics of the case that we will put before a judge or a jury. And when that information comes out, it's going to shock the community. It's a tragic event, and when I say brutal blunt force trauma, that's exactly what I mean.
Has your department ever worked a case quite like this one?
We have worked some very tough cases involving children, but this is one that is going to impact us greatly, and also this community. As I stated, you guys are from this area. You know what a phenomenal community this is. Violent crime rate is very low, and when we're impacted by something of such magnitude, it rocks your community. And our department has struggled this week because, again, we say, children are our most vulnerable citizen, and our job every day is to protect them. And when they cannot speak for themselves, that's our job, and we're absolutely going to do that.
Do you know if the charges will be upgraded against Kayla Thomas? Are you looking at that?
At this point, we do not believe that they will be, but again, our investigation will be ongoing through the weekend and the next week, and we'll continue to work with the Commonwealth Attorney.
You said that you aren't going to talk about what you know about the length of time these incidents might have occurred. Is it safe to say you're still looking into the history here?
That's correct. Our investigation will not stop until we finalize and end up in a trial setting.
Chief, was the Friday call made by Helen?
It was.
Will you have counselors on staff or some to help with the officers who were involved in this?
That's something that we always try to implement in any tragic situation. These officers that are responding, it's very difficult for them. So that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we try to focus on, to provide support to our staff members who are involved.
This may be minutia, but I guess since they've been charged with production of child pornography, I guess would it be fair to say that that was discovered on electronics found within their home?
We seized numerous electronics, and through that, I won't speak deeply on that part of the investigation, but that is how we investigate those cases.
In terms of the charges Hellman is facing, the solicitation of a minor charge, would you be able to say if that is the child who died or another victim?
No, we can't comment on that.
You're not going to comment? Okay. The charges related to child pornography, to which Hellman is an accessory and Kayla Thomas has the upgraded charges, were they carrying these actions out together?
Well, at the end of the day, I'm definitely not going to discuss. Those are details of our investigation that will be brought before in the criminal trial, so we won't discuss those until we get to that point.
What's next for your department in this case?
Next for our department is to continue to work through the evidence. Obviously, there's evidence that will still come in. I mean, autopsy has been performed, but, it takes some time to get final results back. Once we do, our job is to work with the Commonwealth Attorney to make sure we build a rock-solid case to make absolute prosecution.
Do you know how long Hellman and Thomas had resided at this place?
I don't know at this point.
Do you have any reason to suspect that the child's biological father knew anything about what might have been going on in the home?
I don't think we have information at this time to answer that.
I believe you said this, but you do not believe at this time that there will be other arrests in this case? Just want to confirm that with you.
At this time, we do not.
Okay. Do you know what the custody situation was like of this child?
That custody was between
Kayla and
Kayla and her.
the child's biological father had shared
Split
custody.
custody.
Shared custody? Do you know at which residence the child spent most of his time?
I do not. No.
You mentioned there was another minor involved in this case. Are they within the care of family members or at this time?
The second case has been referred to CPS, so any details for that will have to go, the questions will have to go to them.
Is it safe to say this child spent significant amounts of time in this home where the incident occurred Friday? I mean, he lived there.
I believe he did spend time there, yes.
Is there anything else that you want the public to know about this investigation and how you all are working through it and the details within?
Other than we're staffed with highly trained detectives who know their job very well, and they are trained to handle cases of this magnitude. And they are very proficient, and they're going to put a case together and work with the Commonwealth Attorney to make sure that justice is served for this young man. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to send out a
Thank you.
digital copy of that release. And as always, I am your point of contact moving forward for this, so let me know if you have any other questions.